Hello, Clayton. Judi speaking.
How are you, Judi?
Good, thanks. Good.
Do I refer to you as Reverend Judi or Judi? I just want to make sure I get it.
Fine.
Judy's fine?
Judy's fine, yeah.
All righty. So how's your day been going thus far?
Oh, yeah, a bit of this and a bit of that. I work full-time and I'm a part-time minister, so...
Okay.
Yeah, so... so that's good. Yeah, so I've been doing locally ordained ministry for, this is my fourth year, so Parish of Charlton-Donald. So, so that's all been working out really well.
Well, just to give you some background, obviously with COVID hitting last year, and it was the Monday before Good Friday when I said to the boss that we should do something for Good Friday. And so I reached out to some people that run programs on our Sunday morning program, and they were happy to do a quick fire chat the next day, and we ended up putting something together for Good Friday, and it was just about, because there was going to be no services anywhere, and what we could do in talking about that and what they were doing and all that. So, and that was sort of the basis of it. But this time I thought I'd get a bit more behind it, because the boss said, I really enjoyed what you did last year. Maybe you should do it again, which is code for basically you're doing it again.
That's right. When they say that, you read the cue, don't you? Yeah.
Yes, we do. And he does a program which we call Sunday Service, which he and his wife put together basically because of COVID, and that the church services were gone. They wanted to put something out there of faith so that people could listen to the radio and still involve themselves even at home or wherever they might want to be. And so they're doing a special part of this Good Friday show that I'm doing, which is going from 6 a.m. to midday. And as part of it, I felt that it'd be good to speak to, people on the front line, so to speak. So, and because we cover South Australia, Victoria, New South Wales, I just didn't want it to be all about around us. So that's why we reached out, and thankfully you've answered the call, and we can get things from your perspective for our Victorian listeners, which translates well into SA in New South Wales. And then I'm speaking to the local Catholic priest. I believe he's coming in tomorrow or Friday. We're all getting there, and we're also talking to youth groups, because one of our girls here, she goes away to youth camp and she's a counsellor, and because she couldn't go last Easter, and I said, well, now you're going this Easter, so this is a perfect time to talk about that and how that affects. And so what we thought would be only maybe a 1 hour, 2 hour program is going for 6 hours.
Wow, that's gross, isn't it? That's just something from something small, a seed. It all just grows, doesn't it?
It does, and I'm sure the padres at my old school would have been very happy, because they would never have thought I would be doing anything like this. It's a bit removed from me normally, but that's just the way it is, and I think it's more important than anything else. And I'm actually looking across to our other studio, and one of our young guys here, Shane. He's very musically talented, and he plays in his local church band. And so I suggested to him, much the same way the boss suggested to me, that it would be a good idea for him to put a song together and record it that we can play back. And he's in there rehearsing that song as we speak. So,
great. That's just wonderful. Yeah.
So our chat's going to be just open-ended, and I don't know, it could go for 5 minutes, it could go for 15. I don't really care the time length. It's just to have a conversation, and the way I'll wrap it up is that I'll just ask for your Good Friday or your Easter blessing if you would like to pass one on to people, and that's how we'll wrap it up, just so that you're kind of aware where we're going. So
no worries. All right, excellent.
Okay, well, everything's recording and rolling my end, so if you're ready to go, just have a quick drink. I'm all ready to go this end. Okay.
Ready.
All right. Well, welcome to Flow FM's Good Friday programming, and I'm joined right now by Reverend Judi Bird from the Parish of Charlton-Donald, the Diocese of Bendigo. Reverend Judi, welcome to Flow FM and Good Friday, and glad you can be a part of the program today.
Thank you, Clayton, and thank you very much for the invitation. And I'm very, very honoured to be part of this program that reaches out to so many people.
It is our pleasure to do that, and part of it is because of last year with COVID affecting churches everywhere. There was no congregations, no one could do anything unless they were doing it via Zoom or other technological ways. And this year we're getting some limited crowds back. But I just wanted to touch on how was it for you Easter last year? How did you go about connecting with the congregation, connecting with the flock, getting that message out there when you couldn't do it in your normal inside the building. You had to sort of do it in different ways. So how did you tackle the issue last year?
Well, it was a challenge, and we tackled it as a group. So the diocese, our bishop, gave us great guidance, and we looked at what the requirements and the rules and regulations were to see that we worked within those parameters, and that made us really look as a group to, how can we, and we had to do it quite quickly, so we had to be quite agile and innovative and work together. So we looked at what our resources were and looked towards embracing online technology and connectivity with online worship services, and also with catch-ups with our congregations via virtual platforms. But we certainly didn't wish to disregard the importance of a telephone call. So there's nothing like talking to someone on the telephone. We all, I think, remember the Jimmy Little song, Telephone to Jesus, oh, what joy divine. So we certainly factored the speaking to people on the phone, one-on-one, and also getting members of our congregations to also give that telephone call or have a chat with someone over the phone within their congregations, so to keep up that connection with them. We also instigated quite quickly newsletters, so written format, so for those that were worshipping at home to complement whether they could or couldn't join us online, which sometimes not everyone is able to do that. So we wanted to capture those that were worshipping at home, so that they had some order of services, some prayer books and those kind of resources, so that if they were even watching on television, and certainly that was another option for some people to catch sometimes some services on television, and also the songs of praise, so they could have a sing along with that. So we looked at what resources are around. We looked at getting people engaged with each other, even though they couldn't meet face to face. That we could keep that connection. So that was really important for us, and we all had to share our resources. So we looked to have online worship services done on a weekly basis by clergy within the diocese, and that was recorded, and then people could join in with that. And then we also sent those into the nursing homes, because
cool.
Our nursing homes and hospitals were an area that we certainly were foremost in our concern for, that they be given, we touch and them and connect with them as much as possible, because normally at Easter time that's a really big focus for all of us, is to be there and be visiting and be with people during that time. So that was something that we tried to mitigate as best we could. So we all got very technically savvy and upskilled very quickly. So
if I need some help with my internet browser, you can help me now and get my emails all working really well? Yes, that's right. And it was probably the importance of Easter is such an important year for us in the church calendar. So, here in our parish, we actually missed having face-to-face Ash Wednesday for the second year in a row. So that was a little disappointing for us, but it had to be. So we've now looking forward to embracing our limited worship in our church buildings, because we had a mini lockdown for 7 days in February. So we missed Ash Wednesday, but now we're back on board and can reopen up our churches and have services. So we're very much looking forward to being able to meet together in our churches, but also making sure that we also, for those people that are still wishing to worship at home, that we provide the options. And I think that's probably the learning out of this, is that we'll look to have a good mix of options for people, because as we go through the COVID pandemic, there's some people that perhaps until they've been vaccinated, we're further down the track, may believe that it's better for them to stay at home. So we completely support them in that. So it's just about us giving everyone the resources and making sure everyone, wherever they are, in a nursing home or at home or able to come to church, that they feel that they're still part of the family, God's family. So I've spoken to artists the last year or so, Judi, that they're used to the crowds. They're used to that audience in front of them. They can look into the eyes. They can read the people. They know when things are going well, when they need to do this and do that. How was that for you to go from having that on a weekly basis to having nothing, looking down a camera lens? How were you able to mentally go through that process? And because you still want to make sure that the message is received and understood, how did you go through that?
Yes, it was. Thinking about that, it was a challenge, and sometimes you would conduct your services, and then you would, finish up and all that, and then you sort of had, emotionally and mentally, it takes a fair bit out of you because it's something you're getting used to. But really, I guess in that follow up of that ongoing engagement, and you could see. I mean, with Zoom, you could see people on those people that did have their faces showing on Zoom. You could sort of see how they were tracking, and you could, not they may not say anything, but you knew them enough to see, how they were going and how they were receiving the message and all the rest. So that was, very valuable in that regard. But for those others that you didn't see their faces, it was really that importance of, yes, having that service, but also then doing your calls and going around and ringing people up at different times and just checking in with them, plus a fortnightly newsletter, which we got people to send in photographs of what they were doing, or their garden, or anything else that was happening in their patch, and we found that was a real connector. People would really, whose birthday it was, and so really trying to keep that camaraderie going. But it was a difficult one, and we're very cognizant that many people were under an immense layer of pressure, and that the world itself was in such a stressed state with so much anxiety around them that you could see that impacted on some people. But I'd like to give them a shout out that they really just they really had enduring trust and faith, because there was times when we were a little anxious, but we kept saying that God would see us through, and our faith was there, and it was enduring and gave us strength and comfort. So that's what I saw coming to the fore was, we certainly went, this is a bit tricky, but then because we had guidance and because we had faith and we kept, this is a challenge, but we can get through this together. With God's looking after us. He has a plan and He'll see us through. I think that really, really helped us, and I think that came to the fore. And I think, during times of difficulty, sometimes that's when your faith, your understanding and your depth and your appreciation certainly is highlighted. So that's what I saw, was we just put our shoulders in and went, these are the things that we have to do. It's going to be okay in the end. We know that, so we'll just keep doing what we've always done and believing, and be guided by that.
You mentioned the word faith quite a bit there, and that's one of the things when I've spoken to people close to me about the going through last year and even up till now, that having faith, having that belief that yes, tomorrow is going to be a better day, today not so good, but tomorrow will be better. You've got that there in yourself, but there are times when you do get the doubts. How do you, in your role, get rid of that doubt and maintain that faith, especially in this trying time that we've had over the last 12 months?
I'm always a big believer in that, at times you do feel despondent, you do feel, and certainly during this time you feel that, what else can you're soul searching and saying, what else can I do? Is there something else that I'm missing? How can I, look after, God's people? How can I lead them? And so there are times when you're sort of soul searching and looking, but then you just wait for the call, you wait for the message, you wait for the guidance to come, as it always does. You pray, you listen, you open your heart, you open your soul, and you just listen, and it comes, and it becomes apparent. And I've never had a situation where I haven't had the guidance given to me. So, and then that could come in the form of an email from the bishop encouraging us and giving us some more guidance. It could be, and sometimes it's ringing another clergy member and having a chat to them, because as clergy we're all brothers and sisters in Christ, leading our flocks, and that that bond that we all have was very important to all of us, and we leant into that as we lean into Jesus for his guidance. We leant also into our clergy brethren, and we could talk to each other about different things that we were doing, and we had a little Facebook group that that we didn't normally have before, so that sort of grew out of this. But that was that sharing, and you're not alone. We always know that God is always with us, but sometimes it's that reassurance that sometimes we need, and also just new ideas, or just reassurance that we're doing the best that we can. Sometimes that's comes from those moments of sharing, and also praying together, praying to God, and then also listening, because sometimes we can be quite busy and not listen to where God is leading us. So.
Yeah, listening, it's very important. We must continue to listen, and sometimes we don't hear, but we need to keep listening.
That's very true.
Judi, what about for this year, for the Easter services, for Good Friday and Easter Sunday, and right through the weekend at the moment? How are they this year? How crowd-wise and all that? How is it working for you?
We've seen a very good return to our services in our churches. We're allowed to sing now, so that's without the mask, so that's been an absolute blessing. And I think for all of us, we've realised we knew that singing and music was certainly an important component of our services, but I think we've all, the comments that I've had is that we've all got a deeper appreciation of how much music and singing together as a congregation, as a group, lifting our voices in praise and worship, how much that lifts our spirits, and how much that joins us together and gives us, buoys us up and gives us strength as we go out into the world. So I think we've all got a deeper appreciation. We actually have in one church a pump organ, and that's being played at the moment, so we're very lucky to have live music and some guitars. Whereas in others we've got by with electronic music. And that's allowed us to have, whereas before we perhaps had larger numbers and we could have all sung, we've chosen to have a vocal on the backing music as well, which has given us that little bit of assurance when we sing out loud, and that's allowed us to look at different types of music and broaden perhaps our musical appreciation, because there's so many beautiful variations of traditional hymns right through to more modern versions.
Have you got new members that have that you wouldn't have expected to get because of what's happened over the last 12 months?
We actually had some additions to our some of our congregations, and that's probably through the online services and the online worship. So that's been a real joy and a blessing, and they've continued to be, and have also then also come into our church services as well. So that's also been somewhere which is, and I think that's in part of our learning and going forward, is that God has shown us through this experience that's something that we need to learn, that God doesn't necessarily our services don't have to be in buildings. They can be wherever they need, so we can use these mediums to connect with people. And sometimes too, I think that gives people some privacy. Some people, corporate worship together is wonderful, coming together. But there's times, I think, in all of our lives that perhaps that quiet time on our own, just listening to a service, and can also be a comfort and exactly what's right at that time of our life. So. But another thing that we did during the lockdown, which worked really, not the full lockdown, but during restrictions, was we actually had a park and pray. So in one of the car parks of our church, we had an option for the congregation to drive in, and they could just have some physically distanced time with myself as a minister. So allowed them to come in, and they were inside there, and it was in the winter, so it fitted quite nicely. They were inside their warm, cosy car, could put the window down, and we could just have 5 or 10 minutes just of prayer, and that worked very well. So we called that a park and pray, and put up a sign and had a bit of fun with that as well. So that was nice. So,
Judi, if anyone...
we're also looking forward in our services. We've got Palm Sunday coming up this Sunday, and everyone is just in each of the churches. Everyone is, the cleaning has been ongoing, we do cleaning a whole lot better, probably in a more regimented way than we did before. So as has been the requirement, but there's certainly an extra joy and elation about us being able to join together. So for our Good Friday services, we're able to have limited hospitality after the services now as well. So that's something that we haven't been able to do for some time. So I think the things that we perhaps took for granted as a day-to-day, they just happened. We now look at them with a new set of eyes. So we've seen everything anew, and the true value and the importance and the meaning of sharing bread together, sharing a meal together. I think that's all given us greater appreciation of how important that was certainly in Jesus' time, but also in our congregations as well.
I love your line there where you said a new set of eyes, how you're looking at things, because that seems to be, I guess, we've done it here at Flow with different things that we're doing, but I think it's also personally you need to do it at the moment because you cannot look at it the way you normally did. You've got to look at it with a new set of eyes. So I'm glad you mentioned that because that absolutely sums it all up. Judi, if anyone wants to get in touch with you, if they're listening to us right now and they want to reach out and connect with you, how do they go about doing that?
My details are on the Diocese of Bendigo website for the Parish of Charlton-Donald, or I'm happy to give you my number or my email if that's appropriate, Clayton.
That's the website, bendigoanglican.org.au.
That's correct.
That's right. So
if you put in searching for church, and if you put in Parish of Charlton-Donald.
And yes, I'm just clicking on that as we speak. Oh, wow, a nice map with all the different... all of them right there. I can see that right out. Yeah, there's Charlton-Donald. I can just click on that right now. So that's the easy process. And then all your details and your phone number are listed right there. So that's the website to go to, folks, bendigoanglican.org.au. Before I let you go, Reverend Judi, I would like to get your Easter message that you can pass on through us to all the Flow listeners, if you don't mind doing that for us.
Thank you, Clayton. So I'd just like to pass on to all the people, God's people that are listening through this medium, that God can reach out into their hearts and bring them closer to Jesus, and that we appreciate and learn again the importance of the message, the Easter message, that Christ died, Christ is risen, and Christ will come again, and know that and live that out in our hearts, and that gives us comfort and joy. And may this Easter, the blessing of God Almighty, be amongst you and remain with you always. Amen.
Reverend Judi, thank you so much for spending time with us today on Flow FM on our Good Friday special program.
Thank you, Clayton.
Thank you. We got it.
Oh, excellent! That was. I hope I did okay.
Yep, you were fine. You were fine.
Now, I've not done that before, so yes.
Well, you never know. We might make it a semi-regular thing. So there you go.
That's right. And look, there's, and look, the radio is such an important connector too. So, because I travel around a fair bit and I just love getting on the radio. I'm going I know that I know there's quite a few people in the Charlton-Donald area that listen to Flow FM, but I'm going to tell the rest of them that we can download your app, because I don't think sometimes they don't get it as well as perhaps the through their, the radio, but now that we can get it through the app, they should be able to get it all the time. So that's another thing that I'm learning about, radios, because I was talking to someone and they said, oh no, if you go on the app, you'll be able to hear it anywhere, so I'm like, well, that's wonderful. So Clayton, this will be a real kickstart for us, and we're just so overjoyed to have been given the opportunity. So this will mean so much to my congregation, and they'll just be so proud to have heard their story, to be shared with their brothers and sisters across Australia and across your listening forum. So, because that's the other thing is that we've gone through this this pandemic, and it's still ongoing. And the connection, local connection, but also with our sisters and brothers across all states, and also the global connection, because it's affecting the whole world. And that to us has also been, it's a sad situation, but in some ways I think it's reminded us of how we are connected across the world. That we're not nothing is in isolation. Things that we do here have an effect on, and I think that's something that we've learned out of this as well, is that we're all part of, God's big world, and that's something we keep in mind, and we pray for the whole world, and for the church, for the whole world. But so not just a local focus, but a national and an international focus is something we've really worked on as well, so that we're looking after our neighbours, both close and afar.
That's what we try and do. It's part of the message that we like to project here at Flow, and the owners, Wayne and Lisa, that's at the heart of what they like to do. They're Christian folk. They're very caring and sharing, and they don't judge people harshly. They like to talk to them. They like to get an understanding, and they're happy for the message. And I know when the boss asked me about doing this, I didn't have to think too long. I was already halfway there before he'd finished the sentence to me, and because it just makes sense. It's just what we need to do, and it's the power of radio and just the power of the message. And I know people, they're listening to it. I think of my late grandfather. I mean, to him, going to church on a Sunday, it was his highlight of the week, not because he just got to dress up, but because he got to see some people that he didn't get to see. And
that's right.
And especially through the winter time, when people get a bit of a cold and they don't go, and then he might not see them for a month, and then he will see them at church on a Sunday, and then they'll sit and they'll talk and they'll catch up, and that's what was really important to him. And I just know that if he was alive last year, it would have just killed him not being able to go to church on a Sunday, because it just meant so much.
And you're so right. But the flip side of that was, Clayton, certainly saw that. But the other thing that we saw with our virtual services, that we saw 91-year-old lady, and she worked out how to use a tablet with some help, and she did a Bible reading at one of our services, and then someone else did. And these people are perhaps in the middle of winter, and their mobility is compromised. So for them, coming out in the dead of winter to go to church and to be able to walk up to the lectern and to do a Bible reading was perhaps something that may have been a detractor from them doing that. But here they were, sitting in the comfort of their homes, sometimes with their slippers on, or they're in their wheelchair or whatever it was, and they could do a Bible reading. And you saw they just were word perfect. They were just their chests just swelled with pride that, hey, this is something I haven't done for a long time, and I really love it, and I'm here speaking God's word. And to me, I watched them, and I could just see that I've got something to give, and and I love God, and it just came out so strongly. And I thought to myself, this is something we have to remember, that it's a different way, but it also opens it up for, as you said, people that, may have a cold, and, you haven't seen them for a while, and you wonder how they are. So it doesn't always work, and not everyone has a computer, but that was another side that I thought we must remember that. And I think for nursing homes, that's the other thing that I think was really important, was being able to see us, and us being able to send services in, and they could see the ministers that they knew, and it was familiar, and they could, we did a bit of a shout out with people around on the Zoom service, so they could see, people's faces, and they knew their names, and we do a bit of a, hi, how are you all going, and we're thinking of you, and that was another way of connecting when we couldn't visit face to face. So. So another opportunity that God has certainly laid at our feet, and we need to take that into consideration and carry that on into the future, I think.
Well, if Flo can help in any way, you know my details, get in touch and we'll see what we can do for you.
No worries. Thank you very much, Clayton. It's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure as well. Thank you so much, Judi. You take care.
Yes, you too. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.
Clayton.
Thank you.
Bye for now.